Yeah, against humanity. Absolutely.
So you think that this is being intentionally done by a group of people, and somebody with nefarious intent said, yeah, they've been programmed by the media, programmed by our fake government, all the way through their, elementary school into high school and then even post-secondary educations. This is a topic that you're just not allowed to look into.
Well, so there's an Air Force document that is called Owning the Weather by 2025. And so they openly declared many years ago that this was the year they wanted to make sure they were fully in control of the weather as a weapon.
What happens when you take one of the biggest disinformation creators on the social media and you pair him up with a flat earther? That is exactly what we are going to see today. The main personality in this video will be Stu Peters, but also a little flat earther that goes by the name Austin Witsit. Let's start from the famous disinformation agent. Stu Peters, a failed rapper, ex-bounty hunter, and now a filmmaker and a full-time conspiracy peddler, runs a show where he changes reality, spreads wild lies, fakes medical facts, and denies science like he knows something about it. He built his whole career out of saying the most ridiculous things possible, and somehow people still believe it. Yep, I'm talking about the guy that brought you epic news like vaccines glow in the dark and many more conspiracy movies full of disinformation and zero shame. This is the guy who I'm covering today and his funny news claims. And yeah, here are some more of his claims. I am even ashamed to read those, so you can pause to read them later. But I wouldn't repeat them out loud. I just want to make my case about him more clear. And no, this isn't a joke. Those are his real opinions. I find it important to talk about this guy specifically because he is a famous creator online and he is very disgusting about the way that he acts and researches information, then he goes and uses it for views and to trick people into paying him and stuff like that. He has a show that he calls Stu Peters Network. Each episode of his show contains almost zero real evidence. If there is a lie to be told about a current accident, disaster, or major news events, rest assured he will tell it. Whatever lie gets him crazy views and money, he will push no matter who it hurts or what damage it will cause. That is how the internet works and he knows it. Besides telling the stories himself, he will usually bring some guest to give it more legit look for the news given. In one of those cases, he brought on Dr. Jane Ruby to make his case about vaccines to look legit with someone that's supposed to be a medical doctor. And he brought up some crazy facts about the pandemic. Jane claimed she has an information about the vaccine harming people and that she got it from so-called mystery hackers.
EU. What they found was that for example, in the Moderna analysis, there were 10 times the death rate in the United States than in the EU. And in the Moderna group, there were 10 times more.
Let's check the facts. Jane has an IMDb page claiming she has 2 degrees, which are not PhD. So she's not a doctor. The degrees are not in medical science. So she's basically an actor playing a role and providing some bogus information as usually on his show. As you can see, they both don't care about spreading disinformation nor what harm does it cost. Stu doesn't care about facts or morals. As you can see, this is why he doesn't care about bringing an actual expert. Which brings us to Stu's favorite subject in the world. Stu can't stop talking about his big love for this country. He loves Israel so much he cannot stop posting about it and saying how much he loves it.
Bless Israel or you will be cursed. You know, all of that nonsense. They've been programmed by the media, programmed by our fake government, all the way through their, elementary school into high school and then even post-secondary educations. This is a topic that you're just not allowed to look into. We're told that these photos are real, but like so many other things, it just isn't true. They're fake. They're computer-generated images, otherwise known as CGI. And we've been shown a bunch of CGI-generated renderings of what a round Earth would hypothetically look like from thousands of miles away into space, but we've never actually seen a photograph that a real person took with a real camera or a smartphone showing the same thing. And guess what? NASA admits this.
I can't believe I almost forgot the most important fact. Stu Peters is a brain-dead flat earther. This is the lowest level of stupid in existence, which explains a lot of things when it comes to him. All of this leads us to the fact that when he needs help with science topics like this mystery fog, the best man for the job would be the biggest available flat earther, Mr. Austin Witsit.
But I just know that NASA's full of and I believe nothing that they say. If I am leaving Minneapolis and going to Florida or traveling from Florida and coming back to Minneapolis, which I do every other week, if we're spinning at, 1,037 miles per hour, if we're spinning at 1,037 miles per hour and I take off from Minneapolis, how the hell am I ever going to catch up to Florida? And what is the scientific justification for saying, hey, that's impossible? What's the explanation that the globe people always give?
Yeah, so they say that the atmosphere moves with the Earth.
Austin is a well-known fool in conspiracy debates. He loves getting humiliated on YouTube while proudly showcasing his ignorance. While he mainly talks about flat Earth, he has recently been looking for new grifting opportunities. And that's how this collaboration was born. So what do we have here? Two anti-Semitic white power flat earthers, science deniers that peddle and believe any type of BS out there. A perfect storm of stupidity sitting down to discuss, well, anything because they're experts and they know best. Finally, we get to see our favorite clowns giving their opinion about a current subject, which is the mystery fog in the US.
So anyway, we're living through this period of completely and totally unrestricted warfare. By the way, it's being waged against the American people and against much of the world by the people that I'm talking about in DC, and the warfare has taken in many different forms. It's been sexual, it's been biological, and of course, it's been spiritual. And also, undeniably, it has included weather modification and weather weapons. The weaponization of weather that's brought on unprecedented levels of destruction. And we've covered these stories on this program before. Not long ago, remember Western North Carolina? A massive storm, a hurricane. Never before has a hurricane ever taken this path across the Gulf of Mexico, due east from the west, and then makes this massive sweeping turn and goes north. Well, it's a hurricane, so of course it's going to hit the mountains, it's going to dissipate, it's going to weaken, it's going to go away. No, not this one. This one went through those mountains and then hovered right over Western North Carolina, steered straight toward the most lithium-rich part of the United States. And remember the similar storms in Mexico that cleared out entire communities in the middle of valuable coastlines? What about Lahaina? What about Maui? What about what we've seen playing out over the last few days? These massive wildfires in California, which, just like the wildfires in Maui, wildfires, have destroyed everything in their path and they show no signs of stopping. And fires aren't the only thing that we're seeing right now.
Let's ignore for a second the fact that you didn't actually brought any evidence while you made some crazy claims, but let's say we can control the weather. Why do we use our control of the weather to hurt our own people? What is going on with your delusional brain? Stop doing drugs.
Over the past couple of weeks, yet another weather phenomenon has surfaced, this time all over the world, as people are reporting this fog that's blanketing entire towns, making people sick. Eyewitnesses like this guy that's driving in his car describe this fog as being extremely dense, but leaving behind no moisture at all. Almost like it's not fog at all. Almost like it's some kind of a chemical or biological agent that's being released or sprayed and dropped down onto the masses. And just like I mentioned, wherever this fog goes, people are getting sick. People are reporting headaches, severe flu-like symptoms, or stomach issues. It's happening all over the place. And this fog has been caught on video many times over. Its effects have been credibly documented, but still, nobody in the media is talking about it. Nobody in Washington, D.C. is talking about it. They're acting like this fog isn't happening at all.
The magic fog that nobody is talking about beside the whole internet on that date, and actually few articles that researched it and debunked it, and you say nobody is talking about it? And yes, too, nobody did a video about it besides you.
That sounds like the perfect wet dream for the people that want you dead, for the people that are coming after you and your kids. But guess what? They couldn't do it with, why couldn't they do it with COVID-19? Because everybody realized that that was a weapon of biowarfare. Nobody in the media is talking about this fog. Here's a guy just walking down the street, smelling this fog, talking about this fog, describing what this fog actually is.
Like, number one, it's weird because is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks, and like the taste of the air, it's super weird. And so I'm going for my...
None of this is normal. Fog isn't supposed to smell like poisonous chemicals. It's not supposed to smell like smoke either. It's not supposed to make people sick. It's not supposed to sit around all day long for days on end and leave no moisture behind.
How do you know all of this? Did you went there? Did you tested the smoke for the components? Where was the fog anyway? I don't think you know that.
And you know, the reason why nobody wants to talk about this just might be because it was planned. This is just part and parcel of the unrestricted warfare campaign being waged against the people of the world. We have shown this video before.
Campaign by who? The mystery unknown dame that hide the truth about the flat earth?
Oh yeah, it's the fog again and the demons. You know, I mean, like, this is not something that normal people are used to seeing on a daily basis. Or even looking into. You go talk to people about this and you're like, hey, did you see those demons in the newspapers and all the fog? And people are like, what? You're crazy, bro. Get off the gummies. You go out and talk to anybody about this fog and they'll be like, it's just fog. Why are you getting all worked up about this?
At least he knows that he is crazy. Self-awareness is good.
People don't want to look into it, but there are a few of us that do. Among them is our friend Austin Witsit, who's been looking into this story, and others like it. What say you about this fog?
I think that it's very suspect. I personally fell down the germ theory rabbit hole, and I think that a lot of germ theory is pseudoscience used to push different vaccines and stuff. But one thing that is real is toxic chemicals, similar to DDT, the way they spray that on people and claimed that there was polio and stuff.
Oh, this guy sounds so smart. He said the germ theory isn't real. So there's no germs, no disease, no nothing. But chemicals are real? And they can poison us with chemicals? Oh my god, Austin.
And so this does seem like the actual way that they would be able to attack people and their health would be an actual toxic chemical.
But who are they? Can you define the magic overlords?
That you inhale, right? So it is highly suspect because as far as I can tell, a lot of the kind of propaganda about existential threats in terms of virology isn't legit, but this is legit. And this is wouldn't be the first time the government sprayed the society.
Well, you've been all over a lot of things, and you've predicted things, especially manipulated weather, weaponized weather, weather weapons that have been deployed by the government against the American people and against people around the world. The government admits that they have used this stuff. You have forecasted this stuff. You've said, oh, there's another one. And I'm like, yeah, that's never going to develop. And then bang, Austin was right.
Austin wasn't right about anything in his lifetime. What are you talking about?
So although I agree with you that this is strange, that this is not supposed to happen. Fog isn't supposed to smell like that. It's not supposed to taste like that. It leaves behind moisture. All the things that I've already talked about. But have you looked into what this actually is?
That's difficult to pin down exactly what it's composed of. There are some people that are trying to test it, because you were to try to get the chemical makeup of the fog, which is an interesting part of it, because as time passes, we should be able to do that, right? We should be able to actually test what it is if it's physically in the air. But I have not been able to narrow it down. I wouldn't know exactly what it is. It's interesting, and it's in like very selected areas, concentrated areas. So
if you have no clue about the chemistry, you have no clue about the test, you have no clue what has been achieved. So what are you doing sitting on some kind of news and reporting about something that you're not prepared to even talk about?
I think that we have to see how it progresses, right? And see if some people can actually test what the chemical makeup of it is. But like I said, it's very seemingly similar to DDT, or even the stuff that they'll spray in your neighborhoods. They can put tons of different just poisonous, toxic chemicals in your body. It will then have a reaction that gives you all kinds of symptoms, right? The symptoms, we've kind of been taught that there's a specific virus that gives you a specific symptom, and my research has not led me to that conclusion.
What research, Austin? Where is the research? Show us something. This is not a flat earth debate. You should be able to actually show something, or go home.
The body is just trying to detox, and we will have overlapping symptoms. That combined with kind of the microwaves that they're pumping through all of it, all really lead into what people call flu symptoms, this big, swooping term.
Dude, really? Did you say microwave? How did you find that in the middle of the fog?
Do you think that this is a crime?
Yeah, against humanity. Absolutely.
So you think that this is being intentionally done by a group of people, and somebody with nefarious intent said, yep, we're going to release this fog. It's going to taste like chemicals. It's going to be chemicals. It's going to be poisonous. We're going to put it in these specific areas, and we're going to kill or maim or make these people sick. You think that this was intentionally done with a forethought?
I do, yes. If it has a toxic chemical composition and we find out and discover exactly what it is, it would be hard to believe that it wasn't with intent. Especially when you know
if you're believing that it's a crime, and it's a crime against humanity specifically, I tend to agree with you, but I want to drill down on this.
Two disgusting morons talking about absolutely nothing, claiming it's a crime against humanity. Based on what? How? Do you even know what a crime against humanity is? Are you that stupid and confused?
You have to establish a motive. Okay, so what's the motive here?
Good question. Well, we saw last time what happened when they said that people were sick, and people largely obeyed out of fear, because they just pumped it down your throats everywhere. If people were to actually start getting sick, like actually sick or seriously ill, well, then, the motive.
His whole body is twisting because he knows he needs to lie for the views.
Well, then, the motive is checked right there. That they tell you to go back into your house, lockdown, curfews, the whole shebang. So look to daddy government for the answers and kind of put everyone back in lockdown, which is, of course, a prison term. So the change here would be that there's actual serious illness potentially, whereas there really was not last time. They were like, oh, you're sick, but you're going to feel like you're completely healthy, right? So in the scenario,
where is the fog
sick,
being deployed the most? I mean, what geographical locations are we seeing this fog? I mean, I know that we have this one video. There it is. And I mean, look at that. I mean, you can see the actual wall where the fog begins. And then the guy's camera cuts out, but you can see the wall there where it actually begins. And I believe that it'll start replaying here momentarily. But where have you seen geographically, there it is, that the majority of this is being deployed?
Well, I mean, The way that I'm kind of trying to figure that out is actually just talking with different people. So I've heard someone in Michigan say it. I've heard someone in Minnesota say it. Seems more like the
I'm
Midwest.
here. I'm in Minnesota. I haven't seen any of this fog.
Witsit uses his imaginary friends to observe where the fog is. But straight away, he gets busted because he's a fucking liar and he has no friends. Also, his imaginary friends aren't statistics for anything or an actual research.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe people want to just say they've seen the fog, who knows, but more of the Midwest, it appears, from what I've heard, but I don't really know. I'm in Florida. I haven't seen any fog, but fog would be very out of the norm here. So I don't know. Seemingly the Midwest, West Coast is where I've heard personal testimony from. Again, I think that it's important that if this fog is actually tested and then proven to be toxic, that we go from there, right? Who knows what it is?
What is the most likely delivery method of this fog? Is this being sprayed from planes?
I would say so. That's what I would assume. Because why not? They spray from planes all the time, right? And they also spray from trucks, right? They drive around with trucks. Now that would be much more noticeable. So I would say if fog is being generated. Now, here's the thing that most people don't know about. For many decades, we've generated giant clouds. You can look up NASA generating giant clouds back in the day, and they're like mind-blowing amounts of clouds. And they'll actually move them over the Pacific into the West Coast.
Witsit is mentioning here an old, stupid lie that is promoted by flat earthers. More than 10 years ago, Top Gear made a video about NASA testing engines. And yeah, it looks like fumes and clouds, but this is not a machine for making clouds. This is a machine for testing engines, big engines. Austin, you fucking liar.
So that's another way, actually, to perfectly blend in with some type of natural phenomena akin to a fog, right? They would just pump out these gigantic clouds, which it's very fascinating. There's a giant moisture production, and then they shoot out these giant clouds.
Kinda sounds like Austin got confused and started describing his favorite corn scene, giant moisture.
And then they'd allow the wind to carry it over. That way it looks completely natural, right? As opposed to planes just dropping everything. So that's another way that I think would be highly efficient and definitely does exist, admittedly.
You've been looking into, obviously, all kinds of weather. I mean, that's what Austin Witsit does. If you're not following him, make sure that you do.
So this high school dropout is now a weather expert?
Thousands of homes have been burned. Everybody's losing everything. People are dying. Have you seen, you're on the West Coast, have you seen winds like this during the winter time? Is this when wildfires are actually supposed to be happening?
So I'm actually in Florida, but I do have people there in California saying that, for one, this isn't even fire season. They're just falsely claiming that it's fire season all of a sudden, but it's well known that it's not, and that the winds are unheard of. This is basically just Maui 2.0, right? I mean, there's like crazy winds. So 80 miles per hour, the next day up to 100 miles per hour. And then all of a sudden fires start conveniently spreading everywhere. And it checks all the boxes of what they did in Maui, right? Like the LA smart city approval has basically been cemented a couple years ago. So that checks the box if they need to kind of reset to build the smart city.
Sometimes I think the more conspiracies you can mix in one sentence, the better the lie is. It's like a competition. Mix in some smart cities, some fires, fog, and you win the whole pot of being a disgusting scammer, of course.
They're just falsely claiming that it's fire season, nothing to see here. The fire hydrants are empty again. The main interesting is that, again, the Air Force has a document called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. It's a publicly accessible document. It is harder to find now, but it's a .mil document, and it looks like they're right on cue, right? So,
hey, Witsit, let's find your how to find a document. Yes, so the military has a document from 1996 about the fact that weather can't be controlled in the future. Maybe. What does it mean? It doesn't actually correlate to some type of weapon or a proof for a weapon. Did you expect the military not to think about the future and the possibilities like you? And if it was such a big secret, so how could I find this document? And why do you think you can find something of the military and then it will be a big secret? Also, concepts of operation. Like, it doesn't mean it is existing. It's a concept. It's an idea. So this is a document from 30 years ago talking about concepts in the future, which is nothing wrong about having concept. It doesn't mean you achieve those technologies or concepts. When you have an actual proof, Witsit, like you could have shown this document, but you choose to say someone is hiding from you this document. And by the way, what does this document even say about the fog? As you can see in page 16, we have a section about the concept of the fog. So they are talking about how fog is formed and in which conditions, which is a knowledge based for demonstrating the possibility of generating fog for what? For defense. They are talking about generating thick fog in an area of 100 meters, which is not that big, in order to block the IR spectrum, which means if somebody is looking for the IR spectrum, like night vision, he will not be able to find the forces hiding behind the fog. And that is it. No relation to mystery fog to harm people as a weapon, only as a concept for defense unit.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's just Maui 2.0. And obviously we see all these houses just being just obliterated, leveled effectively, but then trees just perfectly fine right beside them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The
it's just the same
flammable
thing.
stuff is not catching fire, but all of the brick and mortar and all of the steel and all of the cars, those are all just being completely dustified and they're gone. Has the blue phenomena been noticed with this as well, or is blue stuff burning now?
I haven't seen any specific evidence that the blue is basically not being burnt. But what I have seen is the next rad towers, right? If you actually look at the radar, the next rad towers, which they emit little pulses of microwaves, and they bounce off of raindrops and snowflakes or whatever. And that's how we're supposed to track the weather, obviously, with like the Doppler effect.
Another masterful gish galloping by the artist Austin, served to you with lots of dressing on top.
Anyway, when we look at the radar, right where these are stationed, we see this phenomena where like randomly a pulse comes out from it and it creates what ends up turning into a cloud, goes right into California. And so looks like a cloud on the radar. So we see very sketchy, effectively energy weapon type of activity coming from the actual next rad towers, which are there to just monitor the weather, right? But
oh wait, what the hell did you say right now? Or the radar creates a cloud and you see the cloud on the radar? Who gave you this information? Why are you lying about topics that you have no clue about? Are you that desperate for attention?
maybe they're just hidden in plain sight. They're there to manipulate it. And then we always start to see crazy phenomena that just so happens to synchronistically work perfectly to maximize damage, right? Again, you have like all the winds ready to go, and then the fire just mysteriously happens.
It was just a perfect set of circumstances, the perfect storm, if you will. Real quickly, because I got to get to break, run down that timeline that you gave again. You said 2028 what?
Well, so there's an Air Force document that is called Owning the Weather by 2025. And so they openly declared many years ago that this was the year they wanted to make sure they were fully in control of the weather as a weapon.
Who declared? Where declared? What book? I don't know. I searched all over and this is the only book by a private guy that I found following this name. But again, if you come as an expert and you want to make a claim, where is your evidence, Mr. Expert? Everyone can just come and invent stuff without any proof.
And they detail it everything that you can imagine.
These
from
are the same people, by the way, that have told you for years, for decades, that we have an overpopulation problem. Bill Gates did a TED Talk where he specifically said, we can fix this overpopulation problem through vaccine and through medicine. Yeah, in other words, we're going to lead people to their death, and we're going to kill them in hospitals, and we're going to make them inject poison that will make them ticking time bombs. We then had an expert on the program who told you,
Stu is just using cherry picking to make his speech look more legit while it has no merit in real life.
2 to 5 years. After you get the COVID shots and the boosters, 2 to 5 years is what most people have to live after that. We're approaching 5 years right now in 2025.
And to finally understand why do people lie about information topics, we will research how Stu makes a living. Most grifters sell merch, earn from support and views, but this guy runs his own website and stuff. So I want to focus on the really bad stuff that he promotes using this information. So how does he do it? One example is selling pseudoscience products, like this product. I don't want to play the audio in this clip, but you can go to the original. I will add it in the description. Anyway, he talks about a device that emits red light and cures all types of cancer, cures skin issues, cures lung issues, cures everything. And if someone promises you a magic cure for everything, it is easily a scam. There is no tool that fits all. Also, each influencer that promotes it promises it as a cure for different stuff. Stu promotes cancer. He promotes lung disease. Some say pain management, anti-aging. It is all nonsense. It is just a light. There is no FDA behind it. There is no study, but Stu loves to lie to make money. You can even go on the website and you can see that they write, we only sell panels. We don't promise effects or cure for anything. So it's not a cure. Why do you sell it as one? This, of course, was just an example of one product. But if you've seen one, you saw them all. The concept is always the same. Some kind of magic cure or magic device that will heal some rare diseases or all of your diseases for crazy price. And all of those grifters that sell it and promote it, they know it would work because they know their audience is stupid enough to buy it. And this is how it works. He matches the product to the audience, maximizing his revenue from promoting these pseudoscience non-FDA devices. And this is why he will forever continue to bring up nonsense information, because it is a cycle of fitting the product to the users and scamming them, of course. I hope you really saw my point and you like my review of Stu Peters' actions, and I hope you will subscribe and return to the next video, which I promise will be even better than that one.